Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is so good to have you all here today. We are going to have so much fun in today's episode. If you are visiting for the first time, welcome to my channel. It is nice to meet you. And if you're returning, welcome back. It is so good to see you again. I am so excited about today's episode, y'all. This is going to be the kickoff of our fall season. I have so many fun things coming your way. We've got lots of DIY home decor pieces that we're going to be working on together, some fall decorating, just so many fun things. I am just thrilled and so excited to be kicking off the fall season. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I'm also especially excited about today's episode because my dear friend Jen over at Mother Thyme will be joining me today. And I'm very excited to share with y'all all of her amazing creativeness. That's a mouthful. We will be bringing y'all just an incredible playlist filled with all kinds of fun fall decor inspiration. So without further ado, let's just go jump right into our projects. This first project is so fun. I'm so excited about this one. It's going to be fun to share this with y'all. So for supplies, we are just going to need a whole bunch of wood rounds that have been cut in half. And if you don't have access to like a jigsaw or a scroll saw or a bandsaw or any of that type of saw, you can buy these wood rounds that are in the halves already at most craft stores. Like I've seen them at Hobby Lobby. However, Michael and I went ahead and cut ours out ourselves. And because we're cutting them out ourselves, I did kind of shape our wedges a little bit more like in a pumpkin shape, and then I just took them to the bandsaw and cut them all in half. Once they've been cut, I'm just going to come in with some antiquing glaze and I'm going to cover all of these front, back, and the sides. After we get that first layer of stain on each of our pumpkin wedges, I'm going to come in with some Waverly chalk paint in the color Sandstone, and I'm just going to spread a very thin, light layer over the entire surface of this. I do the front, back, and sides, and then I come in with our original stain color and just ever so lightly go back over that. Just, you don't want to cover up that sandstone color, but just give it a little, it helps kind of mute that a little bit. Then I'm going to come in with some black chalk paint, and I am using a dry brush technique here, and I just kind of spread this on in some thin lines going with the wood grain. Then I will come in and give it a very light sanding, and y'all, look at this. Look how just adding those few layers of paint made the wood grain pop, and it just makes this piece it just gives it that rustic, aged look. I love how these turned out. All right, so let's move on to the fun part and start assembling these. So I am just going to be using some Gorilla hot glue here, but you could use wood glue or super glue as well. And I'm just going to attach my first wedge to one side. Then I will come in with the second wedge and attach it directly across from my log. And if you don't have access to logs like this, you can also use wooden dowels. Just make sure you have a really big size so that each of the wedges can have a decent gluing surface so that they attach really well to your log or your dowel. So after I got those first two in, I just kind of placed the last four just kind of at an angle. You can kind of see here how I did that. And then I'm going to go ahead and stain the top of our log so it matches the pumpkin wedges. And to finish this off, I am going to just add a couple of little curly cues to this, and I'm just using some wired jute that I wrap around the end of my paintbrush to kind of give it that little curly cue, and then I will hot glue those just anywhere on the stem that you so please. I just kind of placed them wherever I thought it looked good, so you just do you here. I love how these turned out, y'all. I think this little guy is probably my favorite. These will be so fun to incorporate into your fall decor. We are just going to jump right into our second project here. So for this project, you are going to need some canning jar rings and some paint of your choice. And I would have spray painted these because it would have been a lot easier than hand painting every one of these, but I couldn't find a spray paint in just that perfect pumpkin color that I was looking for. So I took some pumpkin chalk paint and then a little bit of burnt umber, mixed them together, and it gave me that perfect deep pumpkin color that I was going for. So I just set about painting 25 of these mason jar rings or just canning jar rings. And if you haven't guessed already, we're going to turn these into pumpkins. So you will need for this part a big piece of string, just a fairly good sized string, and then we're just going to start stringing all of these onto our string. And you do want to make sure that your lids are all going the same direction. After we get all of our rings strung here, I'm going to just tie them into a super, super tight knot. And it is important to get that knot really tight because if you don't get it tight enough, they will move around on you, which is exactly what happened to me. So my first knot, I didn't get tight enough, so I had to come back in and retighten it. Then I'll just fiddle with it a little bit, kind of play with this a little bit until it forms into that perfect pumpkin shape. They will kind of try to stack on top of each other, especially if you don't have it tied quite tight enough, but you can see how they just will kind of naturally form into that pumpkin shape. So then I'll just come in and cut off my extra little tail ends here, and then to securely hold all of these into place, we are going to put a stem in the center of this. I'm just using a spare little log piece that I had. So I'm just going to glue it all the way around. You could use hot glue or E6000 would work really well here too. Then after I get that held into place, I kind of push down on it a little bit, and that kind of makes those rings form even more into a pumpkin shape. Then I will come in and add a whole bunch of extra hot glue to around that whole surface because we won't see that in the end. We're going to do a bunch of embellishing to these, so you'll never see that big glob of hot glue in there. But it kind of does hold it securely into place. Then I stained the top of my stem, and then I'm just going to give it a little sanding here to give it that little rustic flair. After I got the orange one done, I started thinking, oh, a copper one would be so, so pretty. So I made another one, and this one I did spray paint with this really pretty copper spray paint. I love how this turned out. I love that copper color. So I just assembled the copper one exactly the same way I did our little orange one. And then we get to move on to the very fun part, start embellishing these. And you know, embellishing is one of those things where sometimes less is more and sometimes more is better. So it's just really a personal preference here. So I'm just going to start by layering in a few of these oak leaves. I do believe I got these oak leaves at Hobby Lobby. And I'm only going to layer the oak leaves to the very back of this because I kind of want to start from the back and kind of pull all of my embellishments forward. So I'm going to add in a couple of little bows, and I do like to layer my bows. So I did a homespun bow, and then I kind of just came in with just a piece of fabric that I tied into a knot and then added a little jute bow to the top of that. And then my favorite part, I love making these little curly cues, especially for fall decor pieces. I think they're so cute. And the ones I just made, I made out of just some little copper wire. So I'm just going to go ahead and just have fun adding some pieces to this, a little bit of pit berries, some acorns, maybe a pine cone or two, but just have fun with it and just add as many embellishments, as much or as little as you like. Oh, I just think this came out so cute. Y'all will have to let me know what you think of this little guy. I think it did turn out very cute. He'll be fun to use. You could style this in so many different ways. All right, so for our little copper one, I just went ahead and did some embellishing to this one as well. For this one, I used some of these really pretty red oak leaves, or no, not oak leaves, maple leaves. And then I just did the same thing, layered in a bow and some acorns, but I also did make a cute little tag for this one that I just used my clickable stamps, and oh, I think it came out so pretty. I really like this copper one. You'll have to let me know what you guys' favorite is, the orange or the copper or both. I would like to introduce y'all to my sweet friend Jen from Mother Thyme. I absolutely love her, and I know y'all will too. Jen inspires me so much with her creativity. She brings so much inspiration to our community through her array of talents, whether it's cooking, crafting, or decorating. I know you will be inspired by all she has to offer. So stop on by her channel today at Mother Thyme and tell her I sent you. You will be so glad you visited. You can find the link to her channel in my description box. I feel like no fall home decor is complete without a scarecrow. So we are going to whip up this cute little scarecrow in a bag. So we will just need an array of fabrics, some fun embellishments, some buttons, some jute, some wire, some floral picks, and some raffia. And I found my raffia at Walmart actually, but I do know that Dollar Tree carries this, as well as Hobby Lobby and Michael's. We're also going to be using these really cool color fast printable fabric sheets. So these are fabric sheets. It's actually cotton fabric sheets, and they come in these really 8.5 by 11 sheets. I find them on Amazon, and I will link them in the description box for y'all. So we're going to start this project by printing a fun little patch onto our fabric sheets, and I will also have this available for y'all as a free download. After I print it and get it cut out, I felt like it needed just a little extra something. So I'm going to go over the edges of this with my what is this called? My ink pad. And then I kind of just distress a little bit throughout the whole entire patch. And then these fabric sheets come on this backing, because the backing is what helps it go through your printer. So once you peel that backing away, it's literally just a cotton fabric sheet. So I'm going to wrinkle and crinkle this a little bit, because I just thought that would make it look a little more aged. All right, so I just threw a lot at you. Are you still with me? Okay, so I went ahead off camera and cut out all of our pieces for our cute little scarecrow guy, but I will have the entire pattern for this scarecrow available as a free download for y'all, and the link for that will be in my description box. So we're going to go ahead and start assembling this by first sewing our patch to the bag, because this is going to be a scarecrow in a bag. And when I sewed my patch onto this, I did use like a really long stitch to just kind of give it that fun country charm. Next, we're going to sew the bag together, and you want to put right sides together, and then I cut this on the fold of my fabric, so you only need to sew down 2 sides. Once that's been done, I'm going to go ahead and flip this right sides out. So now with this little bag, y'all can leave the top edge of this like fringed if you want to, but I did go ahead and create a little seam on the top of the bag just because I wanted it to have a little bit of a cleaner look to this. We're going to move on to sewing up the hat, and this is the hat top, and I also cut this on the fold, so you only need to sew 2 sides of this, and you want to make sure that you leave the bottom of this open, because that's going to be where we sew it to the brim of our hat, and then you need to also be able to stuff it. So for the brim of the hat, you need to cut 2 pieces. And then you're going to sew those together, and you need to only sew those on the outer edge. Leave that center part opened. Then I went ahead and just put a few little notches in this just to kind of help flip it. So when you flip it, it lays flat a little bit better. Sometimes depending on the fabric that you use, that step really isn't necessary. This is a fairly thin fabric, so I probably could have got away with not doing that. So after we get the brim sewn together, the two pieces of the brim sewn together, you're going to go ahead and turn right sides out and then just kind of finger press it along the seams to give it that kind of flat look. So then I want to gather this a little bit because the brim is obviously bigger than our hat. So, but I want it to have a little bit of that gathered look. So I just did a whip stitch all the way around this. I'm going to just pull those together to kind of gather this, and then we will move on to our next step. Now we can go ahead and assemble the brim to the hat top. And so for this particular one, I wanted the brim part of my hat to have that fringed look showing. So I did this wrong sides together, and you'll kind of see what I mean when we go to flip this. Now, if you don't want that to be fringed and you want that like perfect seam around the top, you want to sew this right sides together. However, I did wrong sides together, and you'll kind of see why after I sew it. So I pinned it all together, took it to the sewing machine, flipped it right sides out, and now you will kind of see what I mean by leaving that fringed top on the brim, because I just kind of it just reminded me of a scarecrow. So I really liked how this looked, but that is completely optional for you. All right, let's move on now to the body. So we're going to go ahead and sew the head, and I did cut the head from a different fabric than the body. I used burlap for the body and then just a cotton tweed fabric for the top. That's completely optional. You can use the same fabric for the head and the body. You know, you just do you here. It's personal preference. So I went ahead and sewed the head to the body right sides together, and you can kind of see how I've done that here. Once those two pieces are completely sewn together, we're going to sew in the arms. But before you sew the arms to the body, you do need to close the two sides of your arms. Leave the top and the bottom completely open. Now it's time to attach the arms to the body, and you're going to do this with the right side of your body and head facing up, and it doesn't matter on the arms because it's burlap, so both sides are kind of the right side. And then we're just going to sew those together down that one little tiny seam, and you kind of see what I'm talking about here in just a second. I will show you what it looks like after they've been sewn together. But it is important to sew those to just one side of the body first. So you can kind of see here how I've sewn it to the right side of one of the bodies. Excuse me. Then we're going to sew the two body and head pieces together. So this step is really, really important because you definitely want to have right sides together, and you want to make sure that that arm is flipped outwards. Like you can see how I did that here, and we're just going to sew all the way around the head from the left to the right, all the way down one side. But then when you get to the bottom, stop. Then we're going to come back, tuck all the arms to the inside, and then you can finish sewing. So I've started at the head on the left side, went all the way around. So now the arms are tucked in, and we can go ahead and close up the body part of this by just sewing down, but leave the bottom open because we need that for stuffing. So now that all of those have been sewn together, we're going to go ahead and stuff this little guy. And for the head, I really stuffed this very, very, very full because I wanted the head to be super tight and kind of bring out that really round shape in it. So the more stuffing that you put in the head, the rounder it's going to be. All right, y'all, so here's where we are. So when I created this pattern, I did draw this pattern and design it myself. I didn't actually make a prototype. I just jumped in and started filming this. So we're kind of creating this together. In hindsight, I would have made the neck on him just a little bit fatter because right now it kind of looks like an angel. But I promise it's gonna come around and look like a scarecrow in just a little bit. All right, so let's move on to stuffing the arms, and then I'm going to stuff the body. I do kind of stuff the body semi-full. gonna go ahead and glue the bottom part of this together. However, leave the very center of this open because we are going to insert a dowel into him when we go to place him into the bag, just so it stands up a little bit straighter and stronger. We also want to put a little bit of stuffing in our hat just so it kind of gives it that full look, and it also helps the hat stand up straight. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and stuff a little bit of stuffing into the hat, and then I just glue the hat onto his head. However, I do only glue the front and the back. I want to leave the sides open because we're going to stuff some raffia up inside of his hat in just a few minutes to give him some cute little hair. So I've just taken some big wads of raffia, I stuff them up inside the sides, and then I do glue that hat down on top of the raffia, and I do this to both sides of the scarecrow. And then once that is done, we can go ahead and trim up the raffia and just give him a little bit of a haircut. We're also going to add some raffia to his hands. So when I his arms. So when I stuffed his arms, I only filled the stuffing 2/3 of the way because I knew I was going to be putting raffia into the center of this. So I just put the raffia in the same way, glued it down, gave it a little bit of a haircut. And now we're going to move on to just embellishing him a little bit. And I thought it would be really cute to use buttons for his eyes and his nose. But you could do so many fun things with this. You could draw the eyes on, you could use fabric for the eyes, you could also use fabric for the nose. Like a little triangle nose would have been really cute on this little guy as well. So, you just get creative, have fun, play around, do what you like, create this, customize this to your liking. So for the brim of the hat, I'm going to just glue in some moss all around the top of the hat, and then I'm going to put this big giant sunflower on the edge, the edge or the side of his hat. Next, I'm going to add a cute little scarf to this little guy. So I just kind of tie it around into a loose knot just because I want it to look kind of full. And then I'm going to dog ear the corners by folding it over, cutting it at an angle, and it just automatically creates a really perfect like dog ear, so it's the same on both sides. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and insert the dowel all the way through, and I do insert this all the way up. It doesn't go all the way to the top of his hat, but it goes all the way to the top of his head, and then I just glue that closed. Now we're going to start working on putting him in the bag. So I stuff the whole body into the bag, and then I glue his hands into the position that I want them, and I wanted his hands to kind of look like they were resting on his hips, as you can kind of see here. So I'm going to, and then after I get the hands glued into place, I'm going to just play around with filling up his bag. I wanted him to have like a few leaves and things sticking out of his bag. So I just play around with this a little bit, and then once I get it to where exactly where I like, I kind of glue all those pieces into place. But you want to leave a small opening in the bag because we're going to pour some popcorn seeds into that at the very end to make the bag strong and firm so it stands up on its own. Then to finish off this little guy, I'm going to go ahead and give him a mouth. I just drew this in with a Sharpie. You can just do this freehand. I'm freehanding it. And then I just add in a little bit of hash marks to kind of give it that sewn on look. And here I just wanted to show you how I tucked the leaves to just kind of hanging out the bag. And y'all, I love this guy. He turned out so cute. What do y'all think? Let's simplify things just a little bit. Our scarecrow was so much fun, but I know he was a he was a lot to take in. There was a lot of steps and parts to him. So I hope you're still with me. I'm having so much fun, and I hope y'all are too. So for this project, we are just going to create some very simple reverse stenciled boards. I just took some scrap wood boards. There's just plywood boards that we had in the shop. I cut them to various sizes. You can choose whatever size here that you would like. This first one is 18 by 18, and then the smaller one is 15 by 15 or 14 by 14, I believe. Then I just cut out these maple leaves on my silhouette cutter just with vinyl, and I'm going to do the reverse stencil here. So I adhere this to the board. Then I'm just going to come back over this after everything is well secured into place and just stain over it with some black stain. You could do any color you want here, because when you lift the reverse stencil up, the natural wood color is going to be what shines through. So again, I'm just going over this with some black stain, and I created this stain myself just by adding some black chalk paint to water to create a stain of sorts. And I'm going to go ahead and cover the whole thing, front, back, and sides. And then I do come in and wipe a little bit of it off as I go. After letting the stain completely dry, we can then come back and lift up our vinyl stencil. And so I just come in with my little weeding tool here and just begin to peel this away. But I do this slowly and carefully. I did speed this up on here, but in real time, I did this very slowly and carefully because you don't want any of your paint to peel. This is a stained effect though, so chances are it won't peel. If you were just using pure paint though, you do run the risk of some of it peeling. So just do this part slowly and carefully. After peeling up my reverse stencil, I do come in and just give this a light sanding because I just wanted this to have a little bit more of a rustic look to it. This step is completely optional. Now, one thing I will suggest is to sand with a grain. I did not do this on this first one, and it did kind of turn out a little bit wonky. Then I went ahead and sanded all the edges to give it a little extra rustic look. And to seal this, I'm just going to add some clear antiquing wax. I rub it all over the whole thing, let it dry for a little while, and then come in and buff it out. I really love the simplicity of these, y'all. I think they would make a great backdrop for any of your fall vignettes. I think this was such a fun, easy project. Y'all will have to let me know what you think. All right, for our last project, we are going to create some really cute, whimsical sunflowers. So if y'all love whimsy, you're going to love this project. So you will just need some fabrics of your choice, and we're also going to be using some canning jar rings and lids. You will need both the ring and the lid for this, and some sticks or some dowels for the stems. So to start, this is going to be the flower petals, and I'm just using a plain fabric here. This is just some muslin that I picked up at my local fabric store. I think I actually got this at Hobby Lobby, to be honest. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this into strips, and these strips are 1.5 inches wide. So I decided I wanted 2 different colors for the petals, so I also cut out some of this ripped up some of these fabric strips. Once the strips are torn into the length or the width that we need to cut them to length, and I cut each one of these at 9 inches. So now we can go ahead and start assembling our flowers. So the first thing that we need to do is on our jar rings, we need to make sure that we drill a hole in the bottom of each one, because this is where our stem is going to go. And it is really important to do this part. The stem needs to actually be inserted all the way up, because if you don't do this, the flowers will be kind of floppy and they won't stand up on their own. Now we can go ahead and assemble our flowers by tying all of our strips around the rings. And I do tie these in a pretty secure knot around each ring. And after I tie each one, I kind of smoosh them together so that they're really tight together. And it did take about 25 strips of fabric per ring. For the centers of our flowers, we're going to need some round pieces of fabric, and I'm just using coordinating fabrics of, any choice here. You just choose the fabric of your liking, and then we're going to place them over the lid part. But before we do that, we're going to make sure that you have the right side facing. So when you put these together, you've got the one flat side, and then you can see this side is kind of indented. That's going to be the back part of our flower. So we're going to take our fabric with a little bit of stuffing and then the lid, and we're going to place it all in the center here. And then we're going to push this down. So the easiest way to do this is to first place the fabric, then put your stuffing in. And of course, the more stuffing you use, the fuller your center part of the flower is going to be. Then place the ring on, and then you're going to push down on this really, really hard until it snaps in place, and you will actually hear it make a snapping sound. And that's when you know it has snapped into place and it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a few of these. I was having so much fun making these flowers that I ended up making 5 of them. Okay, so this step is very, very important. After you get that front piece snapped into place, you're going to flip your flower over and then push your stem all the way through to the top of the lid. And then to close up the back, I just put in a little bit more stuffing and then take that same coordinating fabric. So each of your flower centers, you need to cut 2 pieces. And then I just kind of hot glue it in place all the way around the perimeter, tucking in all of the edges to just give it a nice, clean, tidy finish. What do you guys think of these? I think they're so cute. Okay, so you can see on this one where I got a lot more stuffing in it, and that center is a lot more full, and it kind of pops out, where some of these I didn't get quite enough stuffing and they're a little bit flat. So that is something to just keep in mind as you're building these. But oh my gosh, y'all, I love them. I think they are so fun. These would be really cute gifts to give to someone as well.
Oh my goodness, y'all. That was so much fun. I just had a blast working on all of these projects today, and I'm so happy that y'all were here for me to share this with you. I hope that I have somehow inspired y'all and given you some good ideas for your fall decor. I'm really having a hard time picking my favorite one. Y'all are gonna have to let me know what your favorite was. I love to hear from you. I love reading your comments. It just means a lot to me, and they're so special for me. And so please let me know what your favorite from today was down in the comments below. Like I said, I think I'm having a little bit of a hard time choosing my fave. I think, oh gosh, I don't know. I just can't. I'm not sure I can pick a fave because I really love how they all turned out. I think I'm going to just enjoy them all, and I'm looking really forward to scattering them about the house and incorporating them into my fall decor. Okay guys, well, I think that is going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode. Thank you all again so much for being here and for joining me today. And Jen, thank you so much for being here with me today. Also, it just means the world to me. You are such a dear, and I love all of your projects. Everything that you did just turned out wonderful. You guys, if you haven't already, jump on over to Jen's channel and check her out. I'm going to have her the link to her channel down below in my description box. So please go to pay her a visit, and while you're over there, tell her that I said hello. Thank you all so much for being here today. It means the world to me that y'all take time out of your day to come and hang with me. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Until then, y'all take care, and I will see you soon. Bye. I'm excited to see you. No. Yeah, no. If you are returning for the first time, what? Why, say hi. Say hi to everyone. Say hi. Over at Mother Thyme. Yeah, now it's not a good time to get an itch in your ear. August and it's September.